And one of the things that I always see is that people don't like change. It's so good to be in your comfort zone, and I understand that. But if we all stay in our comfort zone, nothing happens, nothing changes.
Mhm.
So we need to help people, both leaders and employees, to get out of the comfort zone, but in a safe space.
Yeah.
With a lot of psychological and, of course, physical safety, but also a lot of psychological safety, that they feel they can adapt themselves to new things, new ways of working, new products, trying out new technologies, and daring new leadership as well. But what I see in reality, that it's very, very difficult to create those safe spaces.
Hello, Isabel.
Hi, Bernard.
Welcome in our the Golden Cage studio.
Thank you.
The care principles, it intrigued me from the moment I could see that there was a book about it. And I want to start with a question about you, because it's a very long way to be where you are today. But what was you dreaming when you were a child?
To be honest, I can't remember what I was dreaming about when I was a child, because I'm blessed with a very optimistic, very sunny character. I had a very easygoing childhood. I don't have any traumas or big issues. And I was always, especially when I hear the stories my parents used to tell me, I was a very happy child, always smiling and waving at other people in restaurants, at other people's tables, going around. I was a very curious child as well. And I don't think I had a lot of dreams. I was just happy. I was just content with who I was and the life I led. I think the dreams only started when I was a little bit later, when I was a teenager, and when I was in high school, thinking about my future and what I wanted to study. And so those dreams came a little bit later, but it was also not very big dreams. I've always felt quite satisfied with what I had and who I was, and I didn't have big revolutionary dreams that I would transform myself into something else.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting, knowing what happened afterwards. So you went to school, and how long did you go to school, and why did you go to the schools you went to?
Well, it's maybe important to say that I come from a background of my parents had a shopkeepers, and they didn't go to university or school. My mother started to work when she was 14. I'm the youngest of 3 children. Nor my brother or my sister studied. And I was I was the first one to go to high school. I didn't choose university. I've never been to university. It's hilarious because now I'm a guest professor at universities, which is really hilarious to myself. I had 2 dreams when I graduated high school when I was 17. I was 1 year ahead, and I had two dreams. I wanted to work in fashion because my parents had a clothing stores.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to work in fashion or in advertising. That was my dream. And so I studied communication management. At the time, it was 2 years.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun, spent a lot of time in cafes and bars. When I graduated, I decided that my French was really bad, and I decided to to go for 3 months to Paris to learn how to speak French. I did an internship there. After 3 months, I still didn't speak a word of French because I was working like as a kind of a secretary, assistant secretary, and the Parisian secretary didn't want to talk to me because I was la petite Belge, quantité négligeable. So and I lived in a Dutch family, so I didn't speak any French. So in the end, I stayed there almost a year. And I was very lucky to meet a guy who worked in the warehouse of the company where I stayed, Raphael, who's still a friend of mine. And he took me along and he introduced me to Paris. He introduced me to his friends and he learned me how to speak French. And then I came back to Belgium and then I studied 1 more year in French at ISHEC in Brussels to learn how to write French because I came back from Paris. I knew how to speak French and then I learned how to write French. And then I graduated in the first year. I succeeded the first year, but it was very tough. And I decided to stop and I started to work. And my first job was in fashion. So I was happy.
Wow. Sounds very courageous for you to do at that young age. Would you, is there a way you could describe where that drive comes from? Because it could have been easier. Or was it easy for you?
Yes, it's always been easy. I know it. I know it sounds better to say that life is difficult, but it's always been easy. And if I think back at it, I think I've been raised, both parents, but especially my mother, who from the start gave me a kind of education that led to enough self-confidence but also compassion and also empathy to whenever I did something stupid, and of course I did many stupid things, I could always go back home and say, I did something that was stupid, that hurts. And then she said, yeah, that's life. Get back on your feet and continue. And she never ever blamed me for things. She never ever told me off or was mad at me. And that gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of possibilities to express myself, but also to dare things. So anything in my life that I did, and I did many things, I always started it with, I'm going to do that. I'm going to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just give it a try. So I have this kind of self-confidence deep inside of me that always thinks that what could go wrong? Let's just try it.
Mm-hmm. I start to feel some of the things you bring in your book that you in a way, your mom gave you a safe haven. Huh?
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
And in return, you build accountability.
Yes. Because, and that's maybe important to say, because I come from independent parents who had to work very hard. Like I said, my mother started to work when she was 14. I also had to work. So it was not like, do whatever. Oh, okay, come home. We will pick you up. No, it was like, okay, so you fell, you did something stupid, you ran against the wall. It hurts, right? Okay, so get back on your feet. What are you going to do next? So it wasn't like she was picking me up, but she was always supportive.
Yeah.
And so when I look back at things, I think that supportive parenthood that specifically my mother gave me, my father had a different role in my life, but specifically my mother gave me, really helped me to develop a kind of confidence in myself that whatever I would do, I would be okay.
Yeah.
Because I learned from a very young age that life is up and down, that you struggle and that you fall, but that if you have the energy to get back on your feet, you'll be okay.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later, but it is for sure the fact that the main point was not the failure.
No.
The failure is some sort of a result of one action
Yeah.
but they made sure there were actions.
Yes, and one of the things that I also learned from failure is that it's in failure that you learn the most. And of course, you don't know that when you're in the failure
No.
and when you're crying on the floor and
Yeah.
when you're devastated
Yeah.
that something didn't work in your life. But it's the moments where you grow, and it's the moments where you pick yourself up and that you think, okay. And it's not always a very conscious process, but it's a process of continuing to learn. And I think that's one of the things also. My mother was also very curious and very, there's an anecdote about them that they go on honeymoon to Egypt, my parents, and they're in the middle of the desert, and there's a mountain of sand. And my mother tells my father, I'm going to go up there and look at what's behind that mountain. And my father goes, why? You're in the desert. There's sand, more sand. And my mother says, yeah, but I still want to see it. So she climbs all the way to the top, and she says it was the most magnificent view because, of course, there's sand. But it's so great to see it with your own eyes.
Yeah.
And to see the endlessness of the sand. And it's a very nice anecdote because it's also the relationship there was between my father and my mother, where my father said, why would I go up a mountain? I'm in the desert. Why do I need to see that there's endless sand? And my mother, who said, that might be, but I will. And I totally inherited that side from my mother. I'm always fascinated. I'm always curious. I'm always on the lookout. And I wake up every morning, all my entire life, thinking, today is going to be a better day than yesterday. Today I'm going to learn something new, meet somebody else. And I have this natural energy, optimism, fascination for life. And that's a gift. That's a blessing that I got from nature and from nurture. And I understand that not everybody has that, and I'm very lucky with that.
Yeah. I wouldn't. There is more people that have it, but did never discover it, I think.
Maybe.
But anyways,
Maybe.
That's nice, but still, knowing this and then understanding your curiosity, there's still a gap between that and then coming to a point that you are writing books about it. So
wow,
can you?
It's a big gap.
If you can just give us the main events, hurdles, hiccups you got to get there, and I don't mean it negative. It's just it looks like a big step still that is not to cover in just one or two steps.
Well, I don't know how to, in a couple of straightforward words, I can answer that. I've made a career. I worked for a long time as an employee. Again, funny because I was the only employee in the family. I was the first one to bring home a salary sleeve. Never seen that in my family because they were all independent. My sister became independent. My brother became independent at a very young age. And I was always very happy as an employee. I probably would have stayed an employee working in advertising, marketing functions and all of that until I got fired. I lived in Amsterdam back at the time. So from Paris, I went back to Belgium. And then at a certain moment in my life, I moved to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam. And I got fired because there was an economical crisis and I was the last in, first out. You know how that goes. And I was devastated. I was never fired in my life. I had a very good, I functioned very well in my job, and still I was fired. And that was for me a very hard pill to swallow, because despite knowing the rules, that you were last in, first out, despite earning a lot of money, because in the Netherlands it's very difficult to fire people with fixed contracts. So I went to court and I received a lot of money. So despite the money, it was very tough pill for me to swallow. But the very same boss that fired me gave me the opportunity to become independent, a freelancer. And he introduced me to my first freelance job. And his name is Jacques. he was actually, he's the start of my independent career so many years later, because it started already back in the Netherlands. So it's one of these hiccups that it's one of these moments where you feel you failed because you are fired, and it's actually the start of a complete different career. Of course, in the same sector. So that's one of these moments, turning moments. There have been several turning moments in my life, but writing books and developing the care principles was never planned. It was actually at the end of 2019. I had a very successful partnership with another female strategist. We were working very big clients, very international, working both in brand strategies as new product development. And at the end of 2019, I just won a very big assignment. My agenda filled for 6 months, and then I didn't even celebrate with my partner, business partner at the time, because the next call I received right after receiving the call that we won that big account, the call was from my sister saying that my mother was terminally ill. And so that was right before COVID. And I decided to stop working. I gave the big job to one of my competitors because my business partner couldn't do it. We were already packed with work. And I decided to be next to my mom and spend the last months, we didn't know how long she would live, the last months of my life with her. And then came COVID. And I live in a different city than my parents. There was a moment we couldn't drive anymore. I couldn't go to the hospital anymore with her. But also my mother was a very independent woman. And so even while dying, she didn't want me to be with her. So she said, what are you doing here? And I said, I want to be next to you. I want to, you're very ill. I want to spend my last days with you. And she said, why? Why are you here? She was used to me always being away, living abroad and, very busy. And then she told me something very hard. She said, you might die before me. You might take your car, drive home, and get in a car accident and die before me. So don't waste your time here. Do something that you love. And again, it was a hurdle. It was very tough. But she was right. Not that I died before her, but she was right. And so in COVID, not only my personal story, then also the business partnership ended, which also caused me a lot of grief. My father got cancer. So there was a lot of grief in my life. And there was, of course, the world grief over COVID. And I was like in the first months of COVID, I said, I need something positive. I need positive energy. And I started to look for positive news of the day. And every day on my accounts, on my social media accounts, I posted positive news of the day. And sometimes it took me 2 minutes to find the positive news. And sometimes it took me 4 hours. Yeah. And out of that positive news of the day, I read, I researched, I had to dive sometimes very deep. Actually, that was the start of thinking, maybe I found the care principles. I developed the care principles and I said, well, maybe it's time to write a book. I wanted to write a book before about brand strategy, but for somehow I was too busy. I couldn't get my mind to it. And so I contacted Niels from Lano Campus and he said, yeah, it's a good idea. Start to write a book. And it changed my life.
Yeah, wow. What a story. Wonderful. So then we are here to talk a little bit about the care principles and what I told you before we started, what did hit me as soon as I saw the title was that by all the coaches I got to learn how to speak, it was always people don't care how much the leader knows till they know how much the leader cares. So then that was like CARE principle, and it's an acronym, and I love acronyms. Wow, I need to dig into that. That is for me, honestly, that was the pull really to read that. And then I started reading it, and to me it made instantly uh, a lot of sense. I don't think I could say it any better. Maybe different, but any better. Plus, nowadays so I read it. It's a year and a half now that you have the book,
No,
or
it
2
was
years,
no, not even. It's launched in October 24. It's
24.
not even a year on the market.
Okay. Oh, so your book in a way came later than mine. Wow. Okay. I thought it was before.
No.
But anyways, I did read. Oh yeah, it makes sense because I read it, and there were some things in your book that I like, because in Break Out of the Golden Cage, in a way, I think you write your book from the perspective of leadership, what to do with the people you employ, and then there is the employee that gets stuck
Mhm.
in their job and feel it's a cage.
Yeah.
And to have no misunderstanding, I never made that book so that people would change jobs, but they need to change the way they think
Mhm.
of their job and of
Mhm.
their position. And then I could see reading your book that, in a way, anything you're talking about for the employer applies for the employee as well,
Totally. Yeah, sure.
because it's not fair to put all the burden on the employer.
No. No, totally not. Totally not. But maybe it's important to explain why I went into leadership, because my background is um, communication, marketing, and then in 2011 I started my own strategic agency. So I'm a strategist, and so I started really with brand positioning. That's really my background, and then little by little, like by 2014, the whole product development became part of my job. But I never touched the people side. So I make a whole plan on new products. I make a whole plan on where the brand has to go, the vision, the values, all of that. And then I hand it over to a company and I'm off. That's how I always worked. And I saw so many times, because I've repositioned hundreds of companies, big and small, national and international, um, and I saw so many times afterwards, I saw, of course, also very often that it succeeded, but I also saw so many times afterwards that between strategy, words on paper, or new product development, sketches, and first tryouts of new products, and the reality after, there was a huge gap. And the gap was always like the people. The people who don't want to change, the people who don't understand what they need to do, the leaders who are afraid to change or who are afraid to take the lead and say, this is where we need to go, and to really execute the plan. And I think that's why, little by little, I only now felt ready to tackle the human side, to tackle the leaders and employees and help them in that change process that they need to go through. So it was also for me a whole process. I think 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been ready for that.
I most of the times I bring this that the difficulty is between the strategy and the execution,
Mm-hmm.
because in the middle there is the tornado of transformation
Mm-hmm.
that sucks
Big
almost
time.
all the energy
Yeah.
to just keep it alive.
Mm-hmm.
And both employers and employees are all mainly holding on tight
Yeah.
on that tornado. Does that make
Totally.
sense?
Yeah, totally, totally. And And one of the things that I always see is that people don't like change. It's so good to be in your comfort zone, and I understand that. But if we all stay in our comfort zone, nothing happens. Nothing changes.
Mhm.
So we need to help people, both leaders and employees, to get out of the comfort zone, but in a safe space.
Yeah.
With a lot of psychological and, of course, physical safety, but also a lot of psychological safety, that they feel they can adapt themselves to new things, new ways of working, new products, trying out new technologies, and daring new leadership as well. But what I see in reality, that it's very, very difficult to create those safe spaces.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And then it becomes interesting to really start looking at your explanation of the word care
Mm-hmm.
and all the words you bring there, because I think all those items you're mentioning are part of building that, how do we call that, like a place where it's almost like a home away from home feeling,
Mm-hmm.
where you feel this is my environment. I can grow here. Uh, but I think we kind of unlearned a little bit the feeling of I can grow here. What I mean with that is you're right about the comfort thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, we also do some things in life that we know that we will go through an uncomfortable time zone. I mean, starting a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, lots of things are great about that, but we're pushed in some comfort zones as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then you become a parent.
Mm-hmm.
It's again uncomfortable. Buying a house, and not so much, well, buying the house, sometimes that's a complete endeavor, but also, yeah, having constantly the finances to pay for it. So I think with if you start looking at the word care, and then you look at all those parts, uh, it is, I think this is kind of built to make it more comfortable, or at least make it less threatening
Mm-hmm.
for people.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I can just
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just trying
pick
to
on,
challenge. Yeah,
I'm just picking on what you just said before about the discomfort that we might feel when we fall in love, or
yeah,
when we buy a house or whatever. It's true, but those things start from the heart. You
yes,
don't fall in love from the head. It's heart first, and then you rationalize, will this partner be right for me? But it starts from the heart. And I think what we've lost in business, or maybe we never had in business, I don't know, but what we definitely lack in business is heart. We believe that doing business, it's only about the rational side, it's only about the logical side, it's only about, if we tell them, we explain them, we give them the tools, people will do it. It's not like that.
no,
And that is and so I try to build the care principles, and so there's 4 principles in care, and then each principle is explained in 5 steps, so like 20-step guide. And yes, it's a lot, but I try to give step by step people, helping them to connect again the head with the heart in business. Because, for instance, the R from care is reliability. Do we trust each other? Trust is something that does not start with the head. It starts in the gut, actually. It's even lower. It's the gut-head connection that works there. And we have all these expressions saying, like when you don't trust someone, you really feel it in your gut. And it's true. So, and I'm trying to explain leaders all the time, you can try to look trustworthy. You can have trust written in stone on the walls of your organization. If people come into your office and they don't feel it, They won't trust you. And they will rationally say, yes, yeah, I trust you. But you don't. And when you don't trust your boss, nothing will happen. So people stay on the surface of performance because they don't dare to go into that zone that goes beyond it. And all of these things. So I'm trying to help people go beyond the rational, beyond what they believe the performance is all about. Rational, growth, tracking people, performance. You don't perform if you don't feel people trust you.
This is unbelievable, Isabel.
Okay. Build trust, act just, talk truth. Wow, that's unbelievable indeed.
It's there's no way I could foresee you would tell me what you just told me.
No, because you didn't give me any questions. So this is like a very spontaneous talk.
Oh man, it hits me hard. Because it is so correct. And I just found that walk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, we say that for ages.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we say specifically something like that? You know what I mean? Say what you do and do what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel he's not trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you say. You don't say, I think, you say, I feel.
Yeah.
And then I did research about that. And research apparently says that our brain sets up to trust our gestures 12 and a half times more than our words, mainly the hand gestures.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you think about when you have a dog or a cat, it's your tone of voice and the gestures of your hands.
Totally.
So, and from the transition from, monkey to Homo sapiens to people, in a way, language is the last thing that was added on.
Totally. And also what people forget is that in communication, because communication is one of the 20 steps, in communication, 80% of communication is non-verbal communication.
Yeah.
So you can talk all you want.
Yeah.
But people will get maximum 20% of what you were saying.
Yeah. And the communication does not start in the meeting. It starts the moment they see you come on the parking lot.
Totally. Yeah.
And maybe then there's a lot more communicated than you will ever say in the meeting.
Totally.
Unbelievable. Yeah, totally. But it's and that I could see in your principles and your steps. And since I reread the book out of the mind of somebody who gets stuck in now what?
Mm-hmm.
I know what I don't want anymore, but I don't know what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the times, I think it is because they don't know themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So also, when we talk again about what do you want to do, I think you want to do, it's easier to make you do something that's in your talent zone than just something because you have the knowledge or the skills or the diploma. So when I look at that, then I get with some questions because, or at least some things where I want you to talk more about. When you talk about in collaboration about there needs to be a clear purpose. Is for you purpose and meaning the same?
Yes and no. Yes, because a purpose is a meaning. It's something for which you get up in the morning and it's not money. So in that sense, it's a meaning. No, because if you formulate a purpose for an organization, for a company, it can mean more than meaning. It can become a common goal that can be very small, very, like, for instance, recently I did a purpose exercise with a real estate company. And the purpose that they chose, I never choose the purpose, of course, it's the whole company and all employees that work on a purpose, is to make benches and put them in in the city. It's a real estate agent in Antwerp. They will put benches in the city because they felt there's not enough spots in the city where you can take a rest. And so that becomes a true company purpose. Is that a meaning? Probably not. So for me, that's the part that is different.
Okay. I never thought about it that way. So
Mhm.
good. Another one, you in your agility, in the
Mhm.
principle agility, you talk about resilience.
Mhm.
That's one of my major words in the hero. The hero is humble, empathic, resilient, and optimistic.
Mhm.
Um, but resilience, in a way, if you think about the pure form, it's bouncing back.
Mhm.
But nowadays, bouncing back becomes sometimes hard because what is normal today is not normal anymore tomorrow.
Mhm.
So maybe it's bouncing forward,
Mhm.
and then it becomes more a real agile resilience.
Mhm.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah, totally.
the reason why I say so is, or not the reason, but I ask you because I think with now having more generations
Mhm.
in companies,
Mhm.
uh, people my age have more difficulty, I think, with that than younger people.
Mhm.
And because there is such a difference in how to approach that point,
Mhm.
it is even a battle point at some places.
Mhm.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, that's the subtitle of my book, right?
Yeah.
20 Steps to Engage Diverse and Multi-Generational Teams.
Yes.
And the part I'm always questioned about is Gen Z, the youngest generation at work. I even gave a TED talk about how to gain and retain Gen Z at work. It's true that we have a different view on resilience. I'm Gen X. Uh, Millennials have a very different view on resilience compared to Gen X, compared to the boomers, and then when you go down to Gen X. So, what is resilience? It's like I said in the beginning, what I learned from my childhood on. It's to fall, to say, "Oh, it hurts," but it's to get back up, and not have your parents pull you up, but you get back up, and of course, then you can go to your parents, and they will put some tissue on your sore knee, but you have to get back up yourself. This is what we learned. Gen Z didn't learn that. And it's partly to blame to the parents who picked them up all the time. It's partly to blame the educational system who became more softer. And it's partially to blame to social media, where and this is just like three influences on them. There's many more, of course, but that would take me too far. So they are different. Do they need to learn a little bit to be more resilient? For sure. There's a lot of things that they need to learn because that's life. They have to toughen up a little bit. And their parents won't be always there to pick them up. And employers are not schools, so they have to. That's one of the reasons why it's so tough for them. They go to school and everything, they are accommodated in all their ways, and then they arrive on their first jobs and there's no accommodation or support whatsoever. So they have to toughen up a little bit. On the other hand, and I love Gen Z, and I'm pleading for them, and I want to protect them as well. I think they have a lot of basic instincts in them to protect themselves because they are more vulnerable and they won't do things like our generations did that went too far. And we did it, but we developed coping mechanisms to deal with every time our batteries went into the red. And we continue to go with our batteries into the red. And they do it less. And that I love about this generation. They are far more they're a lot more self-aware, and they're a lot more self-protective. So in a way, their self-care is higher than our generations. So that is a good thing about Gen Z.
Mhm.
But resilience, yes, they do need to build it a little bit. And where then comes the empathy, the E from care, I think older generations have to show more empathy for younger generations, but it goes two ways. Younger generations have to show empathy to the older generations and listen and learn from them why they can't be like they are at home.
Mhm.
Why your boss will not be like your parent, always picking you up from the floor.
Yeah. No, I totally agree because I refuse to put them all in the same basket.
Of course.
Gen Z, definitely because we still have young athletes that break world records. Still, some young guys come with extraordinary ideas that break
Sure.
markets.
But like in the sports, the sector you come from, today it's very normal for a top athlete to say, this is my mental coach, this is my physical coach,
Oh, yeah.
this is my 20, 30 years ago, who had a mental coach? Nobody. I mean, going to a psychologist, it was a total taboo. You were considered crazy if you said you went to a psychologist. You were lunatic. Now everybody goes to a psychologist and openly talks about it. And that is also something that I love about this generation, is that they bring things to the table that we were always putting under the carpet for years.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. One of my last years when I was in cycling, I told the parents of one rider, a Dutch rider, that he needed to see a psychologist or a mental coach. And the mom went crazy and said, So you're telling me my son is sick?
Mm.
I said, no, it's to make sure he does not become sick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you could feel that there was already a mentality clash between the parents and him,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where he had to live father's dream. You know what I mean? So, and there was one thing the kid did not want to do, and that was living the father's dream.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't even want to be in cycling. But that's another story. But you're so right, and it goes both ways. And I think that's the what I mean is both sides need to really do a big effort
Mm-hmm.
to understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the negative part, the not so positive part is when I see technological new products coming on the markets.
Mm-hmm.
There, it's very easy to see that it comes from young people
Mm-hmm.
that are not aware that there is still a big market with deep pockets
Totally.
that cannot use that because they missed the train somewhere. Oh, you should be on the train. Well, that's not the human reaction we should have.
No, that's true.
Because, just think about how hard it is to get cash money for elderly people that have not known anything else than that. Are we going to take that away from them?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? So it goes both ways.
Sure. Sure, and like I said, I worked a lot in product development, and very often in product development we go too narrow. You need to look for a target group, and then you define a target group, and it's so narrow, and you get in the rabbit hole of the target group, and you come up with features and with product specifics, and then in the end you think, weren't we a little bit too narrow? We didn't change enough perspectives to make it a more versatile product, or to and that is one of the most difficult things, I think, is to get out of your own vision, your own ego, your I, thinking from yourself and going and have a look at the issue or the problem from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to me, that is in a way a combination of awareness. In a way, that is part of what the meaning is of awareness for me.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, awareness is, are you aware what whatever happens does with you, but also with other people?
Mm-hmm.
What does it with other people? The example that I can bring to the table nowadays is the bombing in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
every war has victims, and it's too bad for every other. But now this particular thing makes me angry that we only keep talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we do. There's no solution coming close. But that awareness, I don't think I would have had that 20 years ago. Do you understand? Really, what does that do with me? And what does that do with a lot of other people, where you can see like the other people like, well, yeah, it doesn't stop, so we can't do anything about it, so move on with our lives.
Yeah.
It's
I think that's in general, and you can't blame them, but that's in general what is the issue with people.
Mhm.
We are unaware of a lot of things that are happening. Look at my first book. The second book is really about leadership, but the first book, Does Your Brand Care? The model is built also to take care of the planet. So it's about sustainability. It's about the ecological crisis we are facing, climate change. And we have all the scientific proof that it's there, and still do we do something? We don't do anything about it. It's even for most of the political agendas.
Yes.
And only when we will be hit hard by it.
Yes.
And we know it's coming. We know it. But till it's there, nobody is moving. And that is a bit the tragedy of humanity. I believe that till you're faced, and I also see it in leadership, till leaders are faced with big issues.
Mm-hmm.
So when do I come in an organization? Internally they can't keep people.
Yeah.
They are losing talent. There's big cultural issues. That's on the internal side, human resources side, or on the client side.
Yeah.
Loss of market share, loss of brand relevance.
Yeah.
And so it's painful. So unfortunately, I very often come into an organization when there's already a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Because only when you feel the pain, they start to act.
Yeah.
And then the awareness starts.
Yeah. Is that the result of an underlying problem we have already with our communication? What I mean with that, I don't think we communicate right in the company, and we do not communicate at all about the future of ourselves and the company.
What do you mean by the future of ourselves and the company?
Well, the world is changing so rapidly, and I don't hear many times that there is in the company an unofficial talk about where are we going, and are you aware that everything is accelerating, so that we will need to change our habits, our organization. Do you understand? So last moment we change, or we cut this off, but nobody is seeing it coming because there is no, how should I say, a way of just making sure that at least you had the opportunity to become aware in what rough sea we are, the company is, the country is.
I see, first I see some differences between countries. I also work in the Netherlands a lot, and the Dutch are very quick, much quicker than the Belgians. Belgians are very traditionalist. Belgians are very good at listening. And then they say, yeah, but we won't change anyway. Thank you. But we won't change anyway. We are comfortable. We're going to continue. So there's already a difference between nationalities. But what I also see, and that I see with every organization I worked with, again, national and international, is that the leadership team is so stuck in operational shit, I would say, operational everyday issues, that they don't take the time to look outside the window and see what is happening. And yes, they go on a strategic offsite, but even during the strategic offsite, because I'm, of course, quite often invited to lead these strategic offsites, like, for instance, we go for 2 or 3 days somewhere to have the offsite. And then already in the middle of the agenda, there's something urgent that comes in, and the CEO and the CFO have to go into another meeting. And so the 3 days we were supposed to look at the future and, develop the vision and develop where are we going and what are we going to do with new products and, what is really our future and how are we going to do it. There's not enough time for it. So I would also plead for a lot of empathy for the leadership teams because they are under so much pressure. There's so much issues going on the short term that there's not enough time to look at the long term. Is it good? No, I'm not saying it's good, but it's reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And that's visible now, huh? Because they're already happy as soon as they can solve all the shit of yesterday, yeah?
Totally. And maybe a third thing I would say to add to that what I also see is that in family-owned companies, there's more the long-term vision because they have this heritage and they know they want to try to continue to exist, and the CEO is there for longer. In big corporations and in multinationals, the CEO is there in average, let's say 5-6 years. And so he doesn't focus on the long term because the only thing he focuses on is his term. It's like in politics. So there is no long term on the agenda because it won't be his or hers.
Yes.
And that is also a big issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Much bigger than any of them inside or outside the company recognizes.
Yeah.
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 No, totally. There is, and it's not worth picking. That's why I bring it up and I want to talk about it. Where do you fit it in? There's two words that I love. Like I said, I love the principles and I love the steps.
Thank you.
But there's two words that I don't see,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I'm overlooking or you use another word for it, but I just want to, because I think the two words are, in my experience, to make fit the team
Mm-hmm.
are important, and that's accountability and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I think I am right that they're not one
They are
of
not
your
in?
words.
No.
Huh?
No.
Is there a particular reason, or is there another word that you say, well, this comes first and then?
Mm-hmm. Well, accountability is something that is definitely important, especially again with the younger generations, with Gen Z. I didn't put it in because for me, it's a word that goes together with responsibility. It's a word that is very much linked for me to the leaders of today, the older leaders who are so hard trained on that that for, let me rephrase it. For me, it's definitely part of a performance. But in my care principles, I didn't find them fitting in because there's already 20 steps. It's already a lot. And in reliability, there is a part of accountability because when I trust you, when I know what you say you're going to do it, it's being accountable. Um, so,
Okay.
but sometimes when I talk about accountability, I like to work with the word ownership.
Yeah.
It's not one of the 20 steps neither, but it's one of the words that I like. I prefer to create ownership with people than to say, are you accountable? Can I count on you? Because then you put it back to the people. And in my care method, I like leaders to be more supportive.
No. Yeah.
It's not like, if you are my employee, Bernard, I won't tell you, can I count on you? Are you going to do it? I'm going to ask you, what can I do for you to get the results and the impact you need to make?
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to make it a reverse situation. So that's why it's not in.
But that is really empowerment, huh?
It is.
That is really empowerment. You give back the power. You hired the person for a certain power, and you give it back.
Yes, totally. But it's important because we are so used in leadership today to say, okay, so is it clear what you need to do? So do you have everything? Are you going to do it? Are you okay? Can I count on you? Yeah. And then we let them go. And I like to change that and say, okay, are you okay? Are you trustworthy enough? Do you understand everything? Is there anything else that I, as your manager, as your boss, can do that you still need to help you? No? Are you okay? Okay, go. And that's the reason why I didn't put those words in.
It makes total sense, and also the way you explained it, because you said at some point, so do you know what you need to do?
Mm-hmm.
I think nowadays it is, if you ask a question in that kind, it needs to be what you need to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And they can figure out their own way how to do it.
Do it. That's true. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
Because at the end, because that's now a little bit the discussion, can we work from home?
Yeah.
Do we need to come back?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, of course, some things you got to do in the factory, and there is moments you got to be together, but there is stuff you can do at home.
Yeah, totally. And that's a discussion, and I think that is in my book, about looking at people at the time they spend on something versus the results that they deliver. And that is something also specifically I say when working with Gen Z. Don't judge the time that they spend on something, judge their results. So if they want to do it from home, if they want to do it with AI, if they want to whatever, how they do it at night, whatever, is the result there? So judge them on the results, not on their 9 to 5 that they spend, because we have all of these tracking devices. Are they working? Is their computer?
Yeah.
That is not trust.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. That is the very first thing. You don't need to say it, because then as soon as you say, but I trust you, then it's like, okay, now we have nothing anymore. He lies or she lies, you know.
Why are they tracking me?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. There's one more thing that I definitely, when we talk about collaboration, we all have an idea about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you just called the elephant in the room. It's because now we have a new player too. What I mean with that is, for me, collaboration in a company is that becomes a team working together.
Mm-hmm.
But who's part of the team? Well, if you look at all the let's say who takes part in the decisions and where we go, it is the board, the employers, the bosses, the employees, the customers, and the suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, I think in the employees, in the executive part of the team, we have a new player, the AI agent.
Mm-hmm.
How? Because I think this is another differentiator between Gen Z and the older ones, that Gen Z will say like,
Mm-hmm.
great, we used this already 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the other ones are like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is where is there going to be any pressure in your principles or in your steps with that AI agent coming in? What I mean with pressure, also what the people looking for another job, a different job, whatever, is there anything extra they will have to look for?
Mm-hmm. Well, first, I don't want to make any big predictions about AI and what's it going to do on the workforce. Why? Because it's going so fast, and I'm trying to follow up. I'm a big believer in AI. I use it. My book has partly been written about with it. I try to embrace that technology, and I try to learn as much as I can from it. But it's going so fast, so who knows what's going to happen on the workforce? So that is the first thing I really want to say. I'm not going to make any predictions, because maybe in 2 months the world looks totally different with AI. Secondly, what I do believe is that it's going to change dramatically the way we work. And so it will change dramatically the number of people who are working there. Microsoft, for instance, already announced worldwide a huge cut from employees. So it will dramatically change the number of people and the type of people that companies need. So I think that we will need a lot of care for people, because we will collaborate with machines. That's the future. We will collaborate, and part of the jobs will be done by machines and part will be done by humans. And we will need to take care of these humans. There will there will have to be a lot of care for the humans. But I also see opportunities for humans because we will always be able to do things that machines can't, even if there are these fast learning, self-learning machines that they are today. I do strongly believe that the humans and humanity will still have to play a role. And I believe, but again, it's going so fast, so let's see where it goes. I believe that the winners will be the companies who know how to leverage the AI technology at its best, but to also at the same time leverage the human skills at its best. And that combination for me will be the winning teams and the winning companies.
Mm-hmm. Makes total sense, because when I was preparing that question, I was thinking about if there is one thing that will be for the longest time in human hands, it will be care.
Mm-hmm.
So we better get good at it.
I think so. Yeah, I think so, because with the way we treat talent today, we won't get there.
No.
It's not sufficient enough.
No.
With the revolution that we are facing, it won't be sufficient enough. So saying, yeah, we have a human resources department, and we have well-being concepts, and it won't be enough.
No.
We will need deep care for people,
Yeah.
for them to be able to work from their talent and do their utmost.
Yeah. And the care, I mean, the principles will be as applicable and as available as needed as now. There's only one word that I would add on it, but they will need to be personalized
Yes,
per individual.
totally. Yeah, totally.
Because the talent of a person is unique,
Mm-hmm.
and every talented person has a manual.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're all treated the same.
Yeah, totally. And that's one of the things that we already see. Like, for instance, CVs are written with AI and are screened by AI. And so how can you find true talent if all of that is done by computers?
Yes.
You can't.
No.
So we also, in that type of processes, we have to get humans back in there, but at the right moment.
Yes.
And there's some companies that do it very well,
Yes.
and there are some companies that do it very wrong. And we are in that learning journey. And that's what I like about it, is that companies today who facilitate learning processes, who allow failure in those processes, who show that agility, who say, okay, we tried this, it doesn't work. Okay, let's move on. Let's try something else. Who really have that mindset, they will be the winners of tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But really sticking to automated processes, if you really want to have talent work for you, it won't work.
No. Well, and I think even in the past, some of the automated systems that were brought in because the system worked well,
Mm-hmm.
but the humans never liked it.
No, that's
And
also
then
true.
it's right what you say. The difference in generations is the older generation said, like, it's a screwed up system, but that's how we need to work.
Yeah.
Where now they say, we don't come.
No, exactly. And that is, again, something I like about the younger generations. They just say no.
Yeah, no.
And of course they say no because there's still a lot of jobs available, and they have their parents as a backup. And that will change if we go into an economical crisis and there will be less jobs. They will have to say yes to jobs as well. So all of that is maybe a temporary thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that they dare to say no at this very young age, I love their guts.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's also why I am hopeful towards the future, because
Me too.
as soon as there is a little bit more reality check in what they want, then then the hardest part is over, because we needed people to have the guts to say no, this is
Totally.
inhuman. Because there is in America a writer, Bruce Feiler. And there's research done, and they ask Gen Z a lot of questions. What do you like about your parents? And then very on top, it's like, well, they worked, excuse me the language, their ass off to make sure that we could have what we have. So that's great. And lots of other things. They admired their parents. And then what is there that you dislike about what they did? Well, they worked way too hard. We never saw them.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, isn't that great? Because even for me, looking back now, it's like, well, there were moments that I bragged when I was very young as an entrepreneur and I came at a family reunion, I bragged that I had a family member that was a school teacher. You know, you talk about all kinds of things. And then I bragged about the fact that his work week was done on Tuesday night for me. Well, I get a little older and maybe a little wiser, and now I'm not bragging about that anymore.
No.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, because you probably developed all of these coping mechanisms
Of course.
to work that
Yeah,
hard,
yeah.
you know? And so now you realize, was it really worth it? And it's such a, but it's such a journey about self-awareness, self-acceptance, and understanding all of these big goals that we thought we had to achieve. Did it make you happy? No, not really. What is really important in life is that you're healthy, that you feel connected, that you feel loved, and that you have a purpose in your life that really keeps you going, that gets you up out of your bed every morning. And if it's only money, it's quite a
Oh,
sad
no.
life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And, you need to enjoy the journey, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in the journey longer than in anything else.
That's true.
Plus, I am now already at an age that a lot of the people I grew up with are not there anymore. So
Mhm.
I will enjoy it when I'm retired.
That
Maybe
is-
you miss
yeah.
a boat there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
that's true.
yeah.
That's true. But again, we have to all feel it
Mm.
ourselves, because there's a lot of young kids, also Gen Zs now, who still talk like that. I'll work very hard and I'll retire when I'm 30.
Yeah.
You just think,
Well, that's
how can they still think like that?
Yeah.
But it's still promoted as total happiness,
Yeah, yeah,
as to be rich and to be able to stop to work.
yeah.
I don't think anybody got happy from stopping to work.
No. Well, yeah. I think everybody Well, I see it for myself. Doing nothing, there is not a bigger punishment. And even if you look at a jail, huh? To keep people some sort of happy, they make them do something.
Of
So
course.
not doing anything, even if it is when you have money, because then you will start to do something with the money.
Yeah,
But
totally.
it's been a very, very, very nice talk. The way you care, the way you bring your care principles is magnificent, Isabel.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernard.
It's
It comes from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, but that's so visible. And please
It's who I am.
continue. Keep doing it, because this is great. Thank you so much for this talk.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Bernard, and take care, I would say.
Yeah, thank you.